it's been a while since we've done an episode, but had to really think about how we do things, how we want this show to be. Had a really nice conversation with my first guest in this new series, or new season. He's really helped me. He's like a brother. And introducing to you all today, Zoheb Sadiq. Welcome to the show, Zo.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm so thrilled to be here.
Thank you so much for putting this together for me, with me, and, and for being my first guest.
No, it's all part of it. I think, I've seen the whole idea about becoming, what you're trying to do with it, the whole idea about it. And I think I was just really interested in kind of like, coming on and just having a chat, seeing what it's about. And yeah, we've known each other for so long, so actually this is a bit weird because like I don't think we have done a podcast. You've
joined yours,
featured on mine.
Yeah.
But it's interesting being in the hot seat actually.
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. It's liberating, isn't it? Because you don't have to actually focus on coordinating the show.
I'm not so worried now about
topics.
I'm not worried about my phone dying in the middle of it, the battery. I'm not worried normally I have a list of questions or trying to keep to time and stuff on the radio or on camera, but you know what, that's just ask me what you want. I'm an open book, to a degree, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, let me see if I can still see you without this. Can I still see you?
You can still. I think you can, yeah.
Glasses, no glasses?
One eye should do it.
No glasses.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll keep the eye patch on. Oh, the eye patch. So funny story. I lost my eye yesterday.
You'll actually lose it, honestly. Yeah.
It's gone.
You sound like you're in a really bad.
Actually, I'm not even going to tell you why I've got an eye patch on, but I've got an eye patch on. Let's see what happens in the next episode. So I mean, you touched on it just now a moment ago. Unity, you did a podcast for Unity FM while she was also on the radio show. So that's what Zoe did recently. But this is Becoming. Now, Becoming is about how the person that we have brought to you today on the show, or I have, has got to where he's got to, or they've got to where they've got to in life. Where did it all begin? How did they get there? And the idea behind this show is to help you to learn what it takes to get to a certain position in life, or at least one person's journey. Every journey is different, so people can get to the same destination in different ways. Now, if you wanted to become a doctor, there is usually a specific route that you have to go down in terms of education to become a doctor. If you wanted to become something like an IT consultant, like what I am, there's different ways of getting there. You can either do academic studies, you can either just work on the job experience. Sometimes it's about apprenticeships. So there's different ways of doing it, right? And so the people I will bring to you will give their perspective and their point of view and their journeys, and their challenges and difficulties. And hopefully you can get something from this podcast season or series, and it will help you in some way, shape or form. So let's roll things back now and let's go back to where it began for Zoe. So Zoe, where do you think in your life this whole journey to get, well, let's just start off with where are you now in your life, Zoe, and then where did it all begin? So where would you say you are in terms of your career in your life today? Yeah,
so my career, I've spent 10, 15 years now working in the design industry. I've worked I graduated in graphic design when I was at uni. I've always been into creative subjects. That's just something that I think that was instilled in me from a young age, really. I think, yourself from
So what is graphic design, in case somebody's watching and they don't know what it is? Or...
Yeah, so graphic design is a visual communication tool. Primarily, it's using shapes, geometry, illustrative objects, and things that can essentially create something, an image, a logo, something that's going to be visually appealing to the audience, the client that would require that service. Quite technical. I'll try not to get into the jargon side of it because there's so much to it. But it does cover many areas, within design itself, website, social media, illustration. It does span across different areas. And actually, when I was at university, it was one of those things where you could apply it to everything: advertising, 3D animation, gaming. I feel like it's a tool that really is quite multiverse, especially nowadays.
Okay. Well, since there's so much to that type of profession, what I'll do is I'll drop a link down below. Click on it if you're interested in learning a bit more about graphic design, and that's what we're going to deep dive into right now. So where did that journey start from? I mean, what did you need to do at the beginning to get to that point in your life, to this point in your life?
Yeah, so I think when I was younger, I was always into creative subjects. You know,
Right.
it was product design was almost the kind of the discovery of it. I think that was where I realised, right, I've got a talent for this, or I've got an interest for it. You know what I mean?
From what I now, so me and Zoe, we go way back.
Mhm.
Right? We started the same secondary school at the age of 11, and I know that me and Zoe used to do art as a subject. I'm thinking that things began there, or if not back at primary school, even like just that,
Yeah, possibly.
you know,
Yeah.
that interest in art itself.
Yeah.
When did you start drawing and finding the enjoyment and in art?
I'd probably say when we joined secondary school.
Oh
so
yeah,
year
not
seven.
before that.
Yeah. I think that's when I really started to enjoy the not just the technical side of drawing, but understanding what graphics was. And I remember like when we used to have to create diagrams, and that wasn't just in product design. That was in any subject. I think whenever I did a diagram, an infographic, some sort of bar chart or something, I was always like, I was more interested in illustrating and colouring things in than
Oh yeah,
than the
Maths.
actual
We
than,
shared
the,
maths
than,
as
than
well.
the actual
Well, yeah,
creating the
you're
thing,
colouring in the
yeah.
bar charts in maths.
Yeah,
I remember that. I remember that.
having a set of Crayolas and these different sketch pencils and felt tips and markers and everything. I was just more interested in making it colourful and vibrant. And I thought, oh, God, I really enjoy this. I remember like, and then what also helped was I think there were certain people in our class or in our group that you maybe had a bit of competition with, that you were trying to outdo them in some way.
In art or in maths?
Design.
Design,
Yeah, art and design. Yeah, so I think it
Oh,
always
we did art and design.
and I think that pushes you.
GCSEs, yeah.
Yeah, no, but even from
Yeah.
year 7. So when
Oh.
we did graphics, so
I don't remember that.
yeah, so there was. I remember there was woodwork.
Oh, one of our technology
Electrics,
options.
electrics,
Right.
and graphics. I remember I went to graphics, and there was a few people that
Did we
were
have to
in a
draw a
group.
cube and shade it in? Or just draw a cube?
Yeah, we probably had to do stuff like that as we. I think again there was.
Okay.
It's probably just certain things that we had to draw, create posters, and kind of like when we had classroom exhibitions or some sort of project and stuff. And I felt like I was always interested in when it came to anything graphical, technical, diagram based. I was just always more interested in that, and I spent hours.
Quick question
in
then.
that. Yeah.
So we established that you found an interest and an enjoyment out of doing that type of work, or even procrastination in maths. So when you don't want to do the work, you're doing something else and drawing instead.
Yeah. Well, that's what,
But then
that's
at
what it
that
is.
point in your life, did you think that actually this is maybe what I want to do when I finish studying, when I'm an adult, when I start working?
No, I had no idea. I just think it was an interest. I think it was something that I thought, right, okay, I'm really liking this. If you told me back in 1999, 2000, if you told me then, I'd be working professionally as a graphic designer, as a marketing expert or whatever, I wouldn't believe you, because I don't think you have any idea then what you're going to do later on in life. People change their kind of ambitions. They change their sort of aspirations, don't they, as they go through school. But I think there was just always an interest though, and I think there's something expressive. It's something quite liberating about it. It's quite therapeutic in a way as well. When you're colouring something in, when you have that visual mindset, you've executed something. You look back at it and you think, oh, I did that, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And I think
you see what you've made.
And I think there was just always, and then it's quite rewarding when teachers acknowledge you with. You start getting like good marks in that stuff, and you start realising, actually, you know what, I'm good at this because
you can see your skill developing as well.
Not
You
just
can see your
because, not
growth
just because
in-
I like it, but because the teachers are saying, oh, this is actually like.
Well done, young
The
so.
reward,
little boy.
Well, there we go. That's it. Yeah,
Have a sticker.
there you go. Back in the day, what I mean. Yes,
Oh, right, wow.
you get a set of Pokemon cards back in the day,
Which are worth a lot of money now.
Which are worth ridiculous.
Had I known
amounts of
then what
money.
I know now, if I knew,
Well, what kids were selling them
Oh
for
my
now, back
days.
then, is probably what the prices are now.
one of these
That's
Pokemon cards
ridiculous.
it's about $500,000 one card from when we were children.
Yeah.
If we kept
You
it
know what I
though,
mean? Well, if I'd drawn that, honestly, do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine? Like, my work would have been worth that much, you know?
Yeah, that's
or something,
I never thought about that.
but
Non-fungible tokens.
There you go. Yeah, that's where branding comes in. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Then what happened?
After school, went to so actually I did a 1 year foundation course in art and design. So I needed that to get into university. And that 1 year actually then taught me more about art, design, the different levels of graphic design. So visual communication, that is when I learned that. I think that's what taught me what graphic design really was before I started at uni.
Did it give you an idea that this is something you could make money from, or was it just a case of, oh, I know what it is now?
I think it gave me a deeper understanding of the subject, and in terms of the theory of it, in terms of how to conceptualize and think about something before creating it. Whereas in the school, they encourage you a lot to create this, create that. You're getting grades and everything. Obviously, you get grades at college and stuff as well. But it was a different process, and they made us go through like different sorts of modules, I think, and then you pick your specialism, and then I think that was when I realised, I was like, oh, you know what? There's something about branding, and that's when I really got into branding, and I thought there's just something about creating a logo, creating a packaging design that creates all these different features, and I thought this is where shapes and characters and these sort of geometric sort of thing. I thought there's something in that. And then when I started to learn Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, that sort of stuff, that was then even more like encouraging. I thought, I just really
you had to express yourself through technology.
Got into the digital side of it more.
So instead of pen and paper, pencil and paper, learning how to do it on a computer and seeing what that could do for you.
So school was
taking images out of the world, right?
So school was very technical, drawing and all that sort of stuff. Using oil pastels.
Sometimes limiting as well, I think. When you draw, you're thinking the only what comes to mind.
You're learning the raw tools, and then the foundation course taught me take that and convert it to digital, and that's when, because at the end of the day, that is the modern world, and I think what they're trying to teach you there is take it to the next level, and they prep you for what's to come, whether you go to uni, whether you go into an apprenticeship or whatever it is.
So that's interesting. Okay. So I'm just gonna digress a little bit. I'm just gonna look into something a bit more, geek out a little bit. When you're talking about the thinking behind drawing or illustrating something, are you now in my mind? What I'm thinking about is, okay, I need to draw a new brand image for McDonald's. Do you then think, okay, well, what is McDonald's? What is its culture? What is its people? What is its values? What do they sell? And who's the audience? What was their origin? Where did they come from? Do you think about all of those things before you then start thinking, okay, well, how could I display all of that in a drawing? Is that what? Am I right?
Yeah, it's definitely a process. I think you have to go through the research phase. You have to go through, I think, understanding kind of what the brief is, what the requirements are before you put any pencil to paper, before you open any program or whatever it is you use. It's like, I think you have to understand what it is you're creating before you start creating it. Otherwise, so you're setting the foundations. Whereas if you go straight into a computer and if you start typing letters and start drawing some shapes, you're almost like it's a bit, you're aiming. You're just, it's quite aimless actually. You don't really know what you're doing. It's just you're creating something just for the sake of it. But you have to understand what the brand story is. You have to understand what, even if you don't have a story at that point, it's getting to that. It's understanding where the person or the company's origins are. What their story is, where they. A bit like the conversation we're having now.
I think we're in sync, you and I. I think I'm in your head. I can see what you're saying.
It's understanding, everything from where has that person come from, why they're doing that now, right? What tone, what mission, vision, purpose, values, philosophy. There's a lot involved in it actually. If I was to show you a project brief that I go through with clients, it's almost like there is quite a lot to it, and I have to ask all the questions. And some questions they won't know. Sometimes they'll say to them, give me 5 words that describe yourself, and they'll say, well, why is that important? But the 5 words dictate how the brand is going to be perceived. but some of it in some ways you look at it visually. In a lot of other ways, you have to look at it theoretically because the theory has to back up the visuals.
Oh right, okay. So that's interesting. So you did the foundation year and you learnt all of that. So then what happened after your foundation year?
So ultimately, I decided to go into graphic design as a degree. So from foundation year, they encourage you to pick an area, and they'll say to you, right, okay, well, what unis are you applying to? What do you want to do? I actually applied for illustration, funnily enough.
Illustration?
Because I thought illustration would be more suited to my skill sets. But
yeah. Sounds like it would have been.
Funnily enough, when I went for the interview at University of Gloucestershire in Cheltenham, if people don't know where that is.
Beautiful place.
I don't think many people would know where that is, but it is a beautiful place actually. Southwest, tucked away, not far from Bristol.
They got the races as well.
The other races, yeah. So that's probably what it's most famous for. Went to the interview there, went for illustration.
Yeah.
The tutor stopped me halfway through my interview and said, "Look, I don't think you're right for this course."
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm thinking,
give you the
feedback. I'm like, I've just travelled an hour on the train.
Oh, that's true.
I've prepared. Taking my big portfolio, the big folders you get, like A1 sketches and all that sort of stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, great, that'll be a nice journey home now. But what he meant was, I don't think you're right for this course, but I do think you're right for graphic design.
Oh.
So then he took me down the corridor to the graphic design students and said, look, I've got a student here who interviewed for illustration. However, we think he's better for graphic design. And then I was thinking like, oh, okay, so this could be interesting. So on the spot in an interview, I'm being told I'm better at this when normally in interviews, it's just a Q&A, it's a discovery session about yourself and the company, vice versa.
And some people probably say, you're not right for this course, so that's it, bye.
And if it wasn't for that interview, I would have never, who knows if I would have ever pursued graphic design. So thank you to that interviewer. I don't know his name, but you know who
you are.
But thank you if you're watching. Thank you so much that you guided me on the right path towards what I'm doing now. But the graphic design tutors met me. And I think pretty much within probably half an hour, once they got talking to me and looking at my portfolio, it was like, we think you'd be good here.
Quick question. That portfolio. So this large folder of all of Zoheb's previous drawings and the work that he's done.
Everything.
And I'm just pausing on what Zoheb was saying for a moment. How did you build that portfolio? Was that from your illustration foundation year, or was that from your school years?
It's a little bit of A-level stuff.
Oh, was it?
So I would say the kind of the later work at A-level, because that was the best. So it's taken all the best work basically. Yeah. So my final submission at A-level, and then the progressive work through foundation year, and I was like, right, okay, let's put it all together. And obviously you have to.
Oh, that's great.
Obviously you have to sort of present it in a certain way. So you take it all and you have big A1. Sugar paper, they call it. I don't even know if they call it that anymore now. I feel so. I was going to say old, but I feel so like I always feel like I don't know whether kids use this nowadays, but we used to have like the big square sugar. They call it sugar paper because because the texture of it basically allowed for better tracking of pencils. I don't know if anyone knows this.
Oh.
The texture of the paper was easier when you use, like, let's say a crayon, an oil pastel.
So it was a little bit bumpy, was it?
No, it wasn't bumpy. It had a slight sheen to it.
Oh.
So it was just slightly smoother, and then when the paint or the pastel or whatever dries, it basically what it does is it sticks to the paper better. And it sets better.
Wow.
So sugar paper was actually like, so for example, you think about when you use like chalk, for example. Yeah. On a sugar paper, it's really easy. Paper, if you do chalk on paper, it can be quite hard. Mm-hmm. Normal paper, plain paper that you find like your printer and stuff.
I never even thought about this.
The sugar paper was smooth, but then you'd need like hairspray or something. The cheat was you'd use hairspray or something to help basically cement it onto the paper because it wouldn't smudge, it wouldn't stain, or wouldn't run off the paper and stuff.
I remember that trick actually.
But the portfolios, so you spray the paper.
We did it on chalk.
You spray, yeah. I think you should spray your hair a little bit as well. When you used to do it, I think everyone probably did something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to encourage anything there. But yeah, but doing the portfolio, taking all of that, your best work, and then thinking, oh, I hope they like this, and then you look at other people, your peers in your group who were doing their visuals this way, or they were presenting it in a completely different way. But my kind of thinking was, and I suppose my bit of advice to anyone now, whether it's people who are aspiring to get into this field or any field you go into, is think you have to trust your own instincts. You have to be yourself and follow through and do what you believe is right. Don't try and copy anyone else. Don't think, well, if I do it this way because that person looks cool, or that might look impressive. Don't try and do that. Just believe in what you do. Believe in your way of doing things, and you know what? You'll get the right merit for it. That's what I believe, and ultimately that's what I thought. In the end, I thought they liked me, they liked my work, and I was like, oh, okay, and I just stuck to what I knew.
Thanks, so.
Yeah,
that's really great advice for the listeners.
I think that's really important.
The people viewing this,
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, trust your instincts. Okay, let that guide you. Let your enjoyment and your love guide you, right? Okay, so that's fantastic. So you got into your university course, you graphic design, not illustration. So how long were you there for?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
And so then once you graduated, if you talk to people that graduate, sometimes you don't just walk into the job that you want when you graduate. Yeah, you have to work another job just to have an income. But then whilst you're searching for that dream job, and at that point in your life, how long did it take you to find your dream job? And what was that dream job? The first job right after you get your degree from graphic design.
I would say, so from when I graduated to then when finding the job that I wanted in the corporate world or for an established company, I'd say about 5 years.
To 5 years.
But when I say 5 years, people watch this might think, oh my God, I don't know 5 years until after I graduate or after I do a master's or a bachelor's degree or whatever sort of qualifications you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to go through the journey there. So that 5 years was a journey in terms of graduating, working, working a part-time job, earning money, then going to work in a family business, then learning other things on the side to upskill, and then learning. You have to keep learning though. The biggest thing I tell people is, just because you get a degree, just because you get a diploma, just because you get any sort of qualification, that's not the be all and end all. You have to carry on. Otherwise what happens is people will more often than not, they'll retract into their comfort zone. And if you do that, like what I mean by that is, you'll get a degree and think, well, I'm working part in a part-time job. You may just enjoy working in the part-time job because you're earning money, you've got a 9 to 5. You forget about your dream, or you prolong your dream because you might think, because you like the money more than the ambition. They always say, don't chase the dream, chase the ambition, not the money. The money,
that's really important.
The money is the byproduct. So for me to get the right job, I was like, right, I've got to keep learning. I've got to learn the industry that I'm working in. I've got to keep my head down. I've got to keep learning things like photography. I learned in those 5 years on photography. I learned, certain things about, digital marketing or social media. That's the early days of Instagram, you could say. This is going back about 10 years now.
So from what I understand, and I'm not going to cheat and go to my memory and what I remember because I know Zoheb for such a long time, but from what I understand, you graduated on an academic degree for design technology, but then you had to wait 5 years to learn more skills that complement the degree, real world skills, things that you've actually done for organizations and for people. And then when you apply for a job, from my experiences, you then have to say, okay, I've achieved so much of this additional stuff since I got my degree. Yes, I've got my degree as well, but I've also achieved these things. And so I'm showing to you that I can actually do this job. I can do your job, the one that I would like to have.
Yeah.
Is that so? It's the reassurance, right? You're trying to reassure the employer to hire you because you can do it, not only because of the piece of paper that you got, but because you've also tried it as well.
I'll put it this way: if you had 100 people who did what you do, had your degree, but if on top of that you demonstrated that you've got further skills, that you've proven that you're committed to learning, that you're committed to not just the job, but if you're showing a willingness and aptitude to basically grow your mindset, to increase your skill set, that you've taken your own time to basically kind of like, you wanted more, that you want more from yourself, and that you actually applied. You actually applied yourself. You took that personal time. It's sacrifice, isn't it? Learning, investing, growth. Whatever you want to call it, expanding. It takes sacrifice. It takes dedication. And I remember spending, evenings learning photography. I remember spending weekends going to learn something new about something in my industry, or a new piece of equipment that I might have got, but that's what it takes. You have to do that, but if you can demonstrate that to your employer, and they think, oh, he went and did more, you've got to show that you do. You've got to make them think that you're going to exceed their expectations. And I almost think that's a rule within life, really. If you can do more than what people expect, that's how you get remembered. That's how you make your mark, basically. Yeah.
I'm smiling because that sounds like a Z tip to me.
A Z tip.
A Z tip.
You could call that a Z tip. Yeah.
And that's a little throwback to our previous interview where you were interviewing me, which I'm going to put a link down below so you can watch that actually. But I think that's another Z tip.
That's the Z tip. Yeah. That's another one. Yeah. But I think that is really important for people to understand that you have to do more than what's expected of you. And that is in your current job, in your next job, when you any personal study, or I think just day to day, really. You've got to expect more from yourself. People make the mistake of saying that you should expect more from others. That's not right. You can't expect more from others. You should expect more from yourself. You know what I mean? And then that's where it's the perception that people have of you then, that you're more dedicated. And that's what I think employers, they set you apart. You've got to set yourself. That's what this was all about, actually. You've got to be unique in your approach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But believe in what you do. Coming back to what I said before, believe in what you do as well, though. Do not try and do something because someone else is doing it.
Wow. Powerful stuff there.
Quite deep.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really important thing to know. Yeah.
It is. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. So you got that job then after 5 years of waiting, right?
Yeah.
And then between then and now, how much have you had to learn, grow, and what have you done over this space of time now?
Yeah. So that dream job, or the first job that I felt was going to require me to maximise my skill sets, I was working for an IT company. Worked in a team, which I'd always wanted to do. And then from that, moved on to another sector, where I was basically working on corporate events. Then I went into the world of freelancing, and worked on many different clients. And that is where I think the branding side of it really started to take off. I started to understand.
Just an ice cream van.
Yeah. So I think getting into the dream job was it's a 5-year journey. And what it taught me was many different things about the industry, learned skill sets, and then going from there to the energy sector, and then going into freelancing, because I was like, right, okay, I was made redundant from that role, but then what I realised was actually gave me a chance to go self-employed and to do freelancing whilst working other jobs as well. So I was still doing marketing, consultancy and branding, but that is when I registered myself as self-employed. And actually, because when you work for a company, you're expected to do your role. When you work for yourself, I then learned how to process a project, a brief, something that wasn't delivered to me by a marketing manager, by someone above me. It was all on me. So someone say to me, right, I need a logo doing, I need a set of slides designing, I need I need some photos doing for a jewellery product or something. And all of a sudden it's like, you don't have anyone to save you.
That's scary.
You don't have any peers to discuss
So
with.
if something goes wrong, then that's it.
Yeah, but it taught me resilience. It taught me a lot about how to connect with people. It taught me how to understand what was required of me, and it also taught me about my skill sets, because it wasn't just the skills that were needed in the job. In the job, it was like,
was it your character? Your character skills?
It was almost like, okay, someone says to you, "Can you do this?" And rather than saying no, I'd be like, "Yeah, I can do it," but then I'd go away and find out how to do it. So it wasn't like a job where you'd be like, they could give it to someone else who's better positioned than you.
Yeah.
Because you do your role, someone does their role. It was like, okay, can you do this? And I could have said no, respectfully said, like, look, it's not within my remit. But I went away and thought, actually, it's an opportunity to learn. And this is going back to the learning part, where I spent a number of years then freelancing and then learning. And then I then got another role for an automotive company, and that's when I was marketing manager. So that's when I then leveled up as being a marketing manager, and that's when I was then responsible for handling different areas of branding, communications, marketing, and actually that teaches you even more, because then it teaches you about being responsible for the whole communications for a company. Whereas in the previous roles, it was just you do your job, you're 9 to 5, and you go home. Whereas this one was a bit more, I had to do a little bit more sometimes on a Saturday or something.
So it's interesting there, just to do a segue about what you just said. There's this a lady called Grace Andrews, and she works for Diary of a CEO, and she was the marketing manager. She's now, I think, the director of marketing. But she created a post on LinkedIn that I just saw this morning, or even yesterday. I think it was maybe this morning because it was last night, early in the morning. But she said one of the difficulties that she had coming into the role was how to talk to the business in regards to from a marketing standpoint, but also to understand the business and their needs, so that a marketing campaign can be run correctly. I believe that's basically what you're touching on here, right? There's one thing to know where you know how to market and you know the job, but there's another thing working with a company and doing the marketing for the company and that communication, that relationship. And that's a key skill set that you said you learned from there.
Yeah. So I think when you're doing it for a company, it's almost like you're expected to do certain things. When you're doing it for someone outside of that, like I say, when you're freelancing or you're contracting and stuff, it's everything's on you, everything on your shoulders. Within a company, you've got a slight safety net, but on the other side of it, then with a company, you're almost then it's everything's in your hands in a way. So there's still pressure, but the pressure's slightly more controlled, you could say.
Okay, because
in the freelance world, it's slightly that client could decide any minute that, right, okay, we don't need you anymore, or do you know what, I'll give it to someone else, or we'll come back to it at a later stage. In a company, it's almost like you live and breathe that responsibility. You have to go in every day. You have to show up. You have to be. You have to show. You have your energy, your drive. It also rubs off on people, and it feeds off you. And a lot of the time, it's like it is down to the person to do that. You've got to have that initiative to say, right, this is the direction that we're taking the branding. This is how we're going to do the marketing. So that does teach you a lot. And then moving on from that role, I went into senior marketing and communications.
Oh wow!
So now I was leading a team. I wasn't just working in a team. I was leading a team and then delegating tasks. And then it was almost like there was a little bit less designing. So it was slightly out of my comfort zone. But but I always say there's two ways to that comfort zone. It's either you look at it leaving a comfort zone. You look at it as either you're going to grow, or are you moving away from something that you're, like, let's say you can leave it by growing, or you can leave it by feeling uncomfortable but not in the right way. So to some degree it was almost like I thought, okay, I'm growing, but this is not me designing anymore, And it was a bit of a struggle at times, but I thought, okay, well, I've got a team now, and I can delegate to them. I can pitch my ideas and they can execute, and I can then also look back and think, okay, I can coordinate and I can orchestrate, and I don't have to do, I can do less of the doing and more of the thinking, more of the sort of like, you know, the idea generation and the concept sort of side of it. So yeah, it's looking back at that now, looking at the whole journey, like from, you know, from leaving school to what I'm doing now, it's a completely different thing, you know, and actually it's, you know, it's been a real journey, and I'm still freelancing, you know, I still create brands for people, I still support people with their social media marketing, with, you know, things like photography as well now, content creation, which is what we're doing here now, you know, this is a form of content what we're doing now, and it's just, you have to keep learning though, is the biggest lesson I'd say. You know, not that we're at the end, I'm not sure, I don't think we are, but
number 2.
But yeah, is never ever stop learning, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, first of all, and I mean that in the sense of your career or your you know, your journey, your pivot, if you have to pivot or something or whatever. But also never stop learning, because at the end of the day, you know, it keeps your mind active, and it keeps you productive actually as well. People fall, you can fall into depression as well in jobs, you know, you can fall into a trap of just doing your 9 to 5 and that's it. Whereas if you keep learning, actually it keeps you going in some way, it keeps your energy alive, you know, whether it's in that role or looking to move on to a promotion or something.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you very much for breaking down your journey to becoming a
graphic designer. There we go. Yeah.
Wow. That's it's been a real big amazing learning curve for me, just to understand what it actually means. You know, you tell me in the past that you're a graphic designer and you can create a logo. To know how much effort went into being able to say that, yes, I can create your logo, or that all of that hard work and learning that you did. Wow, no, genuinely, that's amazing.
Yeah,
well
thank
done.
Thank you so much, and it's been, you know what, it's been interesting to even break it down and explain it, because I think usually it's like I said, the world now we live in, graphic design, what it means now is different to what maybe I did 20 or so years ago. So I even feel like the evolution of it has changed, even as my experiences have changed. I feel like even what that means now has changed itself.
Yeah.
So, but let's see where the industry takes us, you know.
Wow. And on that, so to the audience, have you noticed anything else within the screen that you have right now? We've actually got over here 2 comic books. And they're not there by accident, they're actually there on purpose. So, in terms of graphic designing, did you realise that comic books themselves also have elements of graphic design in them? No? Well, let me ask Zoe if he can point some of the details out for us now. So,
yeah.
Zoe, would you mind?
So if we take this for example, the layout of the cover is quite traditional. That font there is a very popular sans serif font called 𝐓𝐇𝐈𝐒. And I know that myself actually, because it's so commonly used amongst many forms of comms actually, to be honest with you. It's just a very bold font. You got the big illustration in the middle, so obviously that catches your eye, and then you got the Marvel logo in the corner there. And you know, Marvel, for what it stands today, I mean, is absolutely, you know, it's a multi-billion dollar, you know, dollar company, probably one of the biggest media companies in the world now, if not the biggest in terms of you know, cinema and sort of and TV and entertainment. You know, what that's become is absolutely unbelievable. And what people don't know is that in 1998, when the film Blade was released, that film itself actually helped to revive Marvel as a brand.
Wow.
you know, which people don't know about because people think about
Blade,
Marvel.
the 90s movie.
Yeah,
With Wesley Snipes.
the Wesley Snipes movie. So people think about Marvel,
Wow.
they think Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain America, you know, Thor, you know, the common Avengers stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't think about the origin story, and this is what's related to the brand and the origin story. Most kids probably wouldn't know that, but of the age of, you know, if you're between 13 and 40, and if you think back to the 90s, Marvel then was actually, it was, as a movie brand, it was relatively unknown. Marvel had attempted a few movies, but they over budgeted and they'd essentially failed in the box office, and Blade was the last straw. If Blade had failed as a movie, what they said was Marvel probably wouldn't have made all those other films. So any Marvel fans out there, thank Blade and Wesley Snipes, you know, all the producers of Blade, because that's you wouldn't have this as well. Actually, that's why this exists as well. So it just goes to show you the power of branding, but also looking at this cover, essentially, you know, graphic design. This is what, you know, this is what people pay for. People say don't judge a book by its cover, but I have to say this: graphic design really does help to make that decision. You know, people do base their decisions based off of how appealing, how graphically or visually appealing a cover is.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
There we go.
Things you don't even think about.
Bit of trivia for you there.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Wow. And then, unfortunately, the episode's coming to an end now, which is a real big shame actually, because I really enjoy talking to you.
Yeah. Well, you know,
thank you very much for this episode.
Could talk all day about graphic design. You know, and I'm sure if I'm back for another episode, we can dive a bit more into it. But I hope that's given yourself and people a little bit more about what graphic design actually entails. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Well, so that was really, really interesting to learn. And to end the episode, I say it with sadness. I want you back on the show soon. Okay? So promise me you'll come back.
Love to be back on. Yeah. I'll make sure now.
Thank you.
Well, it's on video.
Yeah. Yes.
I can't get away from it. Yeah.
But before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you a question, which is something I'd like to do with all of my guests here on Becoming going forward, which is, we know what you're passionate about, we know what your job is, but then if you didn't do this job, if it wasn't graphic design, what would your other dream be? What would you otherwise enjoy doing?
Wow. I mean, that is such a good question, actually. A very broad question. Trying to catch you off guard, aren't you? What would I do? Do you know what I'd like to do is something to do with like serving people. I don't mean being a waiter. Could be being a waiter, but something to do with people, people management, people, relationships, or some kind of job where I'd be making a difference to people, or working in the community, or something like that. So yes, there you go. Yeah. So there. So they all know me. They all know me. So something like that, because and again, maybe that's the communication side of it. Maybe that's a transferable thing that I can take from doing design and branding. Is working with people in some way to make a difference. But yeah, something along those lines.
Wow.
So yeah.
I'm curious about seeing that side of Zoe.
Yeah. Maybe you will. Yeah.
Wow.
Stay tuned. You know what I mean?
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Season 2, Zoe becomes an MP.
There we go. Yeah. I'll be interviewing you. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much for your time today, Zoe. I really appreciate it.
It's been fantastic, honestly.
Thanks for coming.
It's been really great coming on.
Yeah, and so guys, please like and subscribe. That really helps the show. It will help me to do more with this concept of becoming and the stories behind people and where they've gotten to. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Take care of yourselves, and please think about your dream and see what it will take for you to reach your dream. All right, take care. Bye.